Do you believe in fate? Is it fixed when we are born, or do people have the power to make their own destiny? I could never be 100% sure of what really comes first, the conscious action I take and the following changes in my life, or is it my destiny all along that leads me to take the action, and whether it was all meant to happen from the start. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Yakutian Horror Playlist, the series of creepypasta and short horror stories from the coldest inhabited place on earth. These creepypastas have been tried and tested by generations of Yakutian people and looks like they are the winners to be still hanging around. Today's episode is called Complete Destiny, and it is about Yakutian fate beliefs and related creepypasta dating back to the beginning of the 20th century. But before I start, I must give you a bit more context on how Yakutian people perceive destiny. They believe that it is written at the moment of birth into the death book by one of the supreme deities in the sixth or the seventh of the higher heavenly worlds. So basically, everything is already predetermined in your life. No free will exists. That's why the tradition of Russian Christmastide was so easily incorporated into the modern Yakutian culture. Christmastide is all about divinations, spirits and other such attempts to lift the veil of the future, which is fair enough. If the future is static, then why not get the info a bit earlier? Most people don't mind spoilers when it comes to their own future. However, the Yakutian belief in destiny is also not without a caveat. They are regarded to be of two kinds, complete and incomplete. Basically, when the destiny is complete, that means that no matter what you do, it will go the way it should. Which means you cannot die before your time, you cannot be injured unless it is meant to, and so on. In most cases, these people are preordained to live a happy life, so everything goes well for them until the very end, when they die of an old age, surrounded by loved ones. Pretty nice, hey? I wish my destiny is one of those. But if your destiny is incomplete, then nothing can help you. You will die at some point in your life, no matter what you do. For example, if you try to escape cancer by living a healthy life and all that jazz, then you'll die of a lightning strike or something of that sort. It will get you when the time is right anyhow. This really aligns with one of my favorite Russian proverbs: those who do not smoke or drink will die healthy. So let's get to the story. As usual, the story takes place in the beginning of the 20th century, in good old days before the Soviet Revolution. There once lived a Toyon, a Yakutian prince. These people were part of the Yakutian establishment. They were rather rich people with lots of property, land, horses, and so on. They usually also had servants. They hired people who worked for them for close to nothing, often just for food and shelter. So, this Toyon lived somewhere in the depths of Yakutia, minding his business, oppressing working people, and generally being pretty happy. But one thing in his life was not exactly to his liking. He had an old and ugly wife who also was infertile and couldn't bear him an heir. Now, this was not okay in the patriarchal Yakutia, but he couldn't get rid of her. So our Toyon decided to just carry on and hustle on the side with some extracurricular activities. And of course, this behavior soon has resulted in a servant girl having his bastard son. The boy was born beautiful and healthy, and Toyon was over the moon with happiness. Here I must mention that immoralities like that were quite alright in those days, and the general attitude to the children born out of wedlock was much more positive comparing to Europe, for example. While our Toyon was enjoying the pleasures of parenthood, his old ugly wife was actually not so pleased with this. She was full of jealousy and anger. She resolved to kill the innocent little baby. With this in mind, she went to the neighboring settlement. There a dark shaman lived, who was known for being a predator. He would use his dark powers to kill people in exchange for payment. The evil woman went to see this shaman and hinted that the baby may just die suddenly. Back in these days, the newborn death rate was very high, so no one would suspect anything should this happen and the baby died in the first few months of existence. The dark shaman agreed to the task, took the payment, and got to his dirty work. He made sure no one was in the balagan, Yakutian traditional dwelling similar to a log cabin with dirt floor. He started his black ritual. The dark shaman was summoning the spirit helpers. In this case, the spirits must have been no other than Abase, Yakutian demons, and other such dark entities. The dark shaman was in trance, chanting. His eyes rolled back and only the whites were showing. His face looked possessed and terrifying. The ritual was working. The balagan was filled with evil presence. The atmosphere was dense with smoke and incantations. In the height of the next incantation, he stomped on the floor. The dirt fell in and a deep pit opened up, extending far from the surface. The next moment the pit welled up full of black, dead water. Then the dark shaman took a piece of a birch bark. He enchanted it to capture the spirit of a newborn baby and set it afloat in this dead water pool. The poor victim's soul, trapped in this piece of birch bark, was meant to be a shooting target for the dark shaman and contributing demons. As soon as the birch bark is sunken, the baby will die. They gathered handfuls of stones and started throwing them in their innocent target. One after another, the rocks flew into the little white spot on the surface of the dead pool, but all missed. The dark shaman got some more rocks and tried again, and once more, all of them missed the target. He went to get more and more rocks and tried again and again until the dawn, but the little ship holding precious soul was still afloat, miraculously escaping the shower of rocks and stubbornly staying adrift. When the dawn broke and the first rays of light touched the tips of the trees in the forest, the water drained from the dead pool and the pit closed up. The dark shaman and Abase ran out of time, and the baby was safe. When the old wife came the next day to check on the dark shaman's progress with his task, he could only say to her that the baby's destiny was a complete one, so there was nothing he could do about it. He warned her not to try again. If she keeps trying, she would only bring harm upon herself. Thank you for listening. Let me know in comments below your thoughts on destiny and whether such force exists and can be influenced by people. See you soon, and as usual, have a nice nightmare.